All right. So here's what we'll cover. The problem. What's the problem? What's the main problems today with the social media companies? What prerequisites do we need to cover for understanding our solution? And there's basically three. The marketplace, I'm going to go over that really fast because we're going to spend a whole session on it, but it's kind of essential to understand here how our citizens earn in the social network, ours, and then this concept of Dunbar's number, just so you are with us and get what we're trying to do at a very high level. Okay, and then we'll get into our solution. So to understand the problem, you know what, this social dilemma, if you haven't watched it, it does a way better job than I ever could at explaining the problem. Why? Because you've got the ex-president of Facebook, the ex-head of monetization of Facebook, the ex-president of Pinterest, the executives from Google and Twitter and others, they're explaining it in their own words, how the creations, the things they created are destroying the world, right? They do a better job of explaining that. Just watch that on Netflix. But in a nutshell, their strategy is to maximize user attention to advertisers by maximizing user time on site, right? Their algorithms look for deep rabbit holes to send users down. Why? So they stay on longer, right? If everyone seems to be clicking and spending time when they show them, when the algorithm shows them that Hillary Clinton is running a pedophile ring in a basement of a pizza shop, well, that's where they're going to send everyone until everyone's commenting about it and it really feels real, right? And so the result of that, addiction, destroying lives, vanity competition, leading to depression and suicide, especially among teens, fake news, which is leading to this political polarization you see around the world. No one can tell what's true and not true anymore because most people get their news from social media. And as a result, a decay of democracy. And as a reminder, humanity gave up over 100 million lives last century in the pursuit of democracy after Pete and his friend Churchill dragged us all into the war. I think it was Pete. Yep, I knew it. Dragged us into the war. But basically, and here we are sliding into the exact things we were trying to avoid, right? With our world wars. It's a big problem. Also, skyrocketing income inequality. Why? Because of the extractive nature of these economies. These platforms like Facebook, Google, Amazon, they're becoming economies unto themselves where millions are trying to earn from them. And because they're extractive in that they have to show profits and growing profits, guess what is happening? That's the cause of the red line that we saw. The conclusion of this, humanity's got to get off this stuff, this homepage feed that uses these algorithms. These social networks will not do it on their own because their profits will collapse. And so something else has to come along that speaks to those users and makes them want to come over and use that instead, right? And so that gets us to understanding our solution. Let's talk about a couple things first, our marketplace functionality. So listen, we're going to go into this in the session about the marketplace. So I won't spend too much time, but let me see if I can talk through it in 30 seconds. Basically, storefront for everything you're trying to sell. You get to price things or put things in auctions. You can, it's integrated, the marketplace into everything we do. Any kind of payments that you want to use, everything else that you need to run a business. The bottom line, anybody can sell or share virtually anything. Everything that a seller's need is provided for free, up and running very quickly with no business experience. There's handle every single thing they need to generate a profitable business is being provided to sellers, right? Wrong. That's the big lie, right? Why? Well, where do they get their customers from? If people have no money to spend on ads and have no advertising expertise, those, Google ads, Facebook ads, those are built to confuse you and raid your credit card until there's nothing left. Leave that thing on overnight and you'll see for yourself. Okay, so we'll get to that big lie here in a second. But now I think you understand that, everything that the marketplace offers. Let's talk about how citizens earn, just so you understand that, from posting and sharing, whatever they're posting and sharing. Every time someone likes their posts, products and services, as we talked about, everything's being provided. Stay tuned for the discussion of the big lie. Promoting products and services sold by others. You can help others that are providing products and services get to customers. Sponsoring, like a drop ship. Crowdsource work. For example, guiding, educating, dispute management, managing others, auditing, customer service, transporting. So many different ways to earn. And then when we open up the app platform, hundreds and then thousands of app developers can offer other ways for people to earn within their app environments. Okay, one more thing to talk about, Dunbar's number. Listen, any solution, what we believe is the technology is meant to get something to work better, faster, cheaper, right? As opposed to technology for the sake of technology. So for any solution to truly pass the test of time, it's got to take something that people have always wanted to do and make it possible, or something they're already doing and make it cheaper, faster, easier, right? And so just keep that in mind. So what we're talking about here with Dunbar's number is the maximum number of people that anyone can have a stable relationship with, right? It's based on the size of the brain, the neocortex. In fact, what Dunbar has shown is that, he's an anthropologist, is that if you take the neocortex of different animals, monkeys, birds, and proportionally compare it to the human brain, you'll find they also have the similar number of relationships. We can only handle so many relationships. And so we're sort of limited by that. And if you look back in history, whether it was a number of people in villages in England, or a number of, the optimal number of soldiers in a platoon, or the optimal size of a startup company, it ends up being around this Dunbar's number. And can anyone guess what that number is?
150.
Steven, Brian, send that man some free cryptocurrency or something even better. Excellent. Nice job, Steven.
Thanks.
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so imagine for a moment if using technology, we could somehow track, quantify, and remember all the interactions between people, especially economic relationships, between interactions between people, without any effort from them whatsoever. That makes sense? In the process, imagine if people could have hundreds or even thousands of mutually beneficial economic relationships, right? Why that hasn't been possible is because our brains can't handle it. It's a neocortex issue. It's Dunbar's number, right? Wait a minute. So if someone could do that, are we talking about eliminating Dunbar's number? If we can track, quantify, remember all interactions with people without any effort? Listen, for a moment, just picture yourself going around and doing good things for people, okay? Knowing that each such good deed is automatically being tracked, quantified, counted up, and even displayed to the people that you're doing it for. Just imagine if that was happening. I know it weirds you out a little bit because a lot of times, we like to do good things for people without feeling like, it's being tracked and we're doing it for some credit. But just imagine if it just was that way and everything was just being tracked, okay? Now, imagine if everyone wakes up in the morning and is presented with a list of the people that did the most for them, okay? Sorted by who's most likely to reciprocate if they took a moment to do something good for them. Does that make sense? So you got a list of everyone that's done something good for you. And imagine if it was sorted by like the first person, if you do something really good for them, they're most likely to reciprocate. And the second person is second most likely to reciprocate. And we're talking about economic relationships. So that would sort of really focus you and everyone on what's the best use of your time, right? Who do you do good things for in that they're most likely going to reciprocate right back to you? In other words, economic value will be coming back to you, right? Just imagine that for a second if that was possible. Now visualize, instead of a sorted list like I was just talking about, instead everyone's presented with a sorted flow of profiles. So think Tinder, right? Swipe right, next person, next person, next person. Where the profiles include simple, fun, and familiar one-click ways to help those people earn. So if you give me Steven's profile and I see it and I can very easily help him earn with a single click. Just imagine if it was that easy to help him earn, to do something good for him. In other words, to help him make money. But for me, it only takes a click. You guys with me so far here? If somehow we could pull that off, we're talking about everyone having hundreds or even thousands of mutually beneficial relationships, right? That they can easily help. They can help those people earn and benefit from economically themselves. In other words, make money from those in a simple, fun, familiar social media environment, which if you think about it, billions of people are using social media and doing these same things anyway and not even getting paid. So we're talking about taking something that changes this thing that people have always wanted to do, which was to have more economic relationships, but they couldn't because their brain won't handle it, making that possible and putting it right into the same UI framework actions that 3 or 4 billion people are doing for free right now in an addictive way. Now the game changes, right? That gets us to our solution. So let's get right into it. So listen, Facebook, Twitter strategy, maximize user attention to advertisers by maximizing user time on site. What do they do? How many minutes can they get everyone to spend on the product? Their key tactics, optimize the products to be as addictive as possible, use the algorithms to keep people down rabbit holes, just as a reminder. So our strategy, maximize economic value to users while minimizing user time on site, right? Just as a repeat so you guys remember. Our organizing goal, key metric here is how much in earnings can we get into the user's pockets, right? For each minute of their time. Okay, just as a quick reminder of that. So the key tactic here, 1, remove the homepage feed. That homepage feed on Twitter and Facebook and every single platform, get rid of that. Step 1. 2, algorithms focus users on the very best use of their time right now. Right? So as a viewer, you're going in there, what's the best use of your time right now? Well, the way it does that is it answers 2 questions. 1, who's most likely to return the favor if I help them earn? Who's most likely to return the favor right now if I help them earn? Right? In other words, another way of saying that is who's the most trustworthy? Listen, if you look up the word trust, it's, it basically, the definition is, it's sort of predictable behavior. When you trust someone, it means that you feel like you can predict with a high degree of certainty how they're going to behave in a way that works for you. So who's most likely to return the favor if you help them with your very limited time? And 2, what can you do right now to help them earn? What is it that you should be doing to help them earn? What are they doing? I don't know everything that Sharella's doing in her life, right? To figure out if I could spend an hour with her and then maybe some things will pop up that, oh, no kidding. You're doing this. Okay, I could help you there. But I don't have a lot of time. So if you could tell me what I could do right now efficiently to help her earn, that would be very, very helpful. So what you're seeing on your screen is the web site for our alpha product that we've had for a long time. In a moment, Brian's going to log in, and I apologize about the time. I'll move as fast as possible. Brian will give you a little teaser of the product. We'll log in right now, but there's the website. Let me just walk you through it. As you can see, there's Sarah here. That's her profile. Notice that, she can post, photos, text, videos, what have you. Notice here, she's selling a product, an iPhone. Notice here that she's got a price. It's a bid. You can bid on it, or you can rent it, right? That everything fast and free that we'll get into. You can do all that from there. That's the light green, the light blue use. That's the rent price. Notice this little circle. That's called the loop. Okay. So what happens there is what you want to do is you want to close the loop. And what that's saying up there, like 2 of her things. Remember, she earns when you like her content, right? So you could like 2 of her posts, or you could bid or buy on something that's worth at least a penny, right? If you do that, you'll close the loop with her, right? So I'm going to like something. There you go. Notice now there's 1 like left, or still a penny, but the loop half closed. And if I do another one, the loop is closed. So what that told me, what was telling me is, what do I need to do to close the loop with her? And there's the things that it suggested to me right there are things that help her earn money. Now, you might say, if I go and bid a penny on her iPhone, is that helpful to her, really? Is that really helping her? Now she's got to bid for a penny. Well, it is helpful for her. Why? Because when I bid, now guess what? That content about the iPhone will now be distributed to my followers. And so it gets distribution. It gets wider distribution. And if she doesn't want to sell it for a penny, by the way, she could set a reserve price. So she won't be losing that. But I'm helping her distribute the product. And so that's why that's helpful to her. And of course, if I buy it, that has economic value to her. And if I like her content somewhere, well, guess what? All the profits being pumped back to the users every day are based on the likes. And we can get more deeply into those because not all likes are equal. There's some algorithms that we can talk about when you have interest in that. But long story made short, those are the things I could do. I quickly did them. Took me a few seconds. So when I'm good at this, I could do it in about 5 or 10 seconds. And then notice that there's this little trust bar. Remember, the word trust just came up again. What that shows is how long she and I have been going back and forth. What I should tell you is, after closing the loop with her, next time she logs in, it's going to present me and my profile to her. You see what's going on there? And so, and the more, and this, what this bar shows is how long we've been going back and forth with each other. And once that bar gets up here, I'll talk about this in a second. You can pretty much predict with a very high degree of predictability, again, that word, that if I help her out, she'll be back to help me out. Does that make sense? Okay. And then when I'm done, I press that thing. Now, obviously on the mobile phone, as you'll see, you just swipe. And when you do that, you get shown the next person on the list that we talked about. Okay. So after you close the loop with Sarah, you'll then be presented to her next time she logs in. Now, I'll be in a list, right, based on some criteria, one of which is how likely I am to do good for her, right? So she's going to have them. Remember, she may log in tomorrow, have 2 minutes to spend on the platform, or she might have 2 hours. Well, if she's got 2 minutes, remember what we're trying to do. We're trying to maximize the revenue to her, the earnings to her for each minute of her time. So one way we do that is show her the person, the people that are most likely to help her earn the most. Does that make sense? Based on a whole bunch of factors. So that's why that list has to be sorted, because we don't know when she's going to drop off. Okay, but anyways, I will be presented to her. I might not be the first one at the front of the list, depending on how the algorithms figure out how much value I'm going to bring to her. Now, I'm becoming quickly one of the local people that's most likely to reciprocate. We'll start seeing each other over and over. By the way, geography clearly is a big part of this. Location has a lot to do with it. She's probably very near me. Okay. Hope you're catching what just happened. This is a major breakthrough, because the more loops you close, the more people you're going to be shown to. The more people you're shown to, the more people are going to, that means they're going to visit your profile, which is where you're selling everything. It's where you're providing economic value. Your storefront is really that profile. So think about what just happened. We just successfully addressed the big lie. If the lady from Kenya comes in, and she has a piece of land and she grows squash and she puts her squash up, now she needs to get in there and start closing some loops, right? And if all she can afford to do is, click and like some things, as she goes through it, guess what she's doing? She's pretty much guaranteeing that those people are going to come back and visit her store. And that's how she can get hundreds of people to visit her profile daily, or multiply that by 30, thousands of people each month without spending a single penny. So your trust bar grows, obviously, with each reciprocation. So once that bar gets to 25%, there is over a 99% chance that she's going to come back every time you reciprocate. We see this from the stats. Once someone goes back and forth with you just a few times, you can pretty much trust that they'll be there for you. And everything is happening automatically. All you're doing is liking things, bidding on things. And by the way, if I see that phone for free, at zero, you better believe I'm going to bid on it. Why? Because if I bid X dollars and it's cheap enough, I can turn around in this platform with one click and put it back on the market and sell it for a profit, right? All of that is built in. Some of you will remember the sponsoring. Okay, so what is the significance of eradicating Dunbar's number? Think about it. Everyone can now have an unlimited number of trusted economic relationships without the need to quantify, track, calculate, negotiate, remind, remember, take notes for who did what for who. In other words, without using the brain that has that limitation, right? And without the need to invest any time, energy, money, or resources to be introduced to those people. None of that stuff. And so what that means, remember, half the world's population is still living on $5 or less per day. By enabling them to easily establish and maintain a near unlimited number of economically beneficial relationships, you permanently unshackle them from the chains of poverty. That's what happens. You've taken someone that literally had very little economic value, and you're giving them the education, you've given them the storefront, you're bringing them the users for free, and you're, even if they have nothing to sell, like that lady in Kenya with the little piece of land, they can see things for sale and quickly get a sense of, oh, iPhone for a penny, I bet I could, bid $50. After a month of this, you'll learn what you can sell things for. And what she's doing is she's providing economic value. There is value she's creating because she's helping to distribute that. Remember the definition of an economy: the production, distribution, and consumption of goods and services. So in the situation where she's liking something or she's bidding on it and just distributing it in that way in the feed, what she's done is she's distributed it. And so if someone else then buys it and saw it in her profile, guess what? She gets a cut. All of this automated. Listen, that's what a Facebook that has these things will do for the planet. It turns it into an economy where everybody gets to participate, right? With all the most advanced sort of hindsight improvements on what has gone wrong with democracies that allows 50x, whatever it was, 57 people to have 14 times the wealth of the bottom half of a nation, right? That shouldn't be happening. And the good news is, because we get to control this and devise these things from the beginning, we can do it right with the benefit of hindsight. And listen, the significance to the stuff we just talked about is as pronounced for people in the first world as well, not just third world countries. Just imagine what you could do if you had that kind of tool, right? For something to track all of those things for you. By the way, why the movement? Well, we're the first, and still, as far as we know, platform to have successfully fused together the social and communications with a transaction-enabled, everything provided marketplace, as we talked about, including that free customer flow, right? No one else wants to give customers for free, and the model breaks down as far as it actually being able to help people. And then bonus, of course, democratic and free from that corrupt banking system. Remember the example of Brian skimming off the top 1 or 2%. That 1 or 2% feels like it's not much, but when you step back a little bit and watch it, it all goes in his hands, which is why so much of the wealth is in the hands of the financial sector, right? Therefore, as of right now, only we can track and remember all these things between people, which of course is a strict prerequisite. This model of having the social network with the marketplace all integrated on top of a cryptocurrency and being able to give people, their customers, with the trust flow is they're sort of all prerequisites to making this work. So what's the result of this? For those of you that have been with the platform, listen, 90% of our alpha users posted daily, right? Versus less than 10% of Facebook and Twitter users post daily. Why is that? Well, capitalism, economics. When you post, people like that and you earn. That's why. Unbreakable network effect generates network lock-in. Listen, guys, one of our core values is winning. Unless we get big and create lock-in, someone else is going to eventually copy us and we can't win, right? Why is this happening? Because in that trust flow, once I build trust with Sarah here, and we've gone back and forth 30, 40 times, and a new platform comes along that wants to do the same, do I really want to start over there? Or do I, if I've got hundreds of people here I've built trust with, it's a huge switching cost, as they call it, right? So the first company to do this and get large and have everyone building trust with each other, I can click on anyone on the planet and see how much trust we built with each other previously, right? I don't want to lose all that value. So that becomes a barrier to entry for competitors. Listen, the trust flow also generates more revenue than selling the user data to third parties, like the Facebooks of the world do. It near eliminates fake news, because we talked about how the algorithms are different. These algorithms are looking, remember what they're doing, they're trying to sort people for you based on who's going to bring you the most economic value so that we can maximize earnings in the minimum amount of time. And so all of the algorithms that create echo chambers and all these social media platforms gone. They don't exist on ours. Remember, we got rid of the homepage. That was the first step. We're not going to go down that road. And we, of course, we work to get users off the platform instead of trying to figure out how to addict them for the same exact reasons. We're trying to get people to spend less time, not more. And of course, it's completely compatible with our mission and everything we're trying to do. It's built for that. This is the Facebook killer that everyone's been waiting for. Listen, there's very few companies on the planet that are hated by their own customers as much as Facebook is. And by everyone from, politicians, Biden said he hates Facebook and what it's doing to the world, to, anyone that's got a brain that can see what they're doing. Social dilemmas really help that. This is the killer that everyone's been waiting for. And so on that note, Brian, if you could take over the screen.
Yeah, 1 second.
All right. Just a little teaser, folks. Brian, is this live? Are you in the product right now?
Yeah.
So those of you that were alpha users can see that there's no arrow. To go to the next profile, you just swipe. Kind of like that. Yeah, just go through a couple profiles, Brian, and scroll down if there's. It's a pretty standard social feed, except you're not going to a homepage feed, right? It's showing you the people that you are building trust with and the people that are most likely to reciprocate. All right. Yeah, so we'll get into all these details on Monday. Everybody on their phones,